Good morning, good evening. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Living Systems Collaboratory. My name is Lisa Naugle, and I will be your host for today, interviewing three panelists, three presenters. I just want to say a few little things about the Living Systems Collaboratory. It is a new initiative bringing together designers, artists, and many others who are exploring the development of their work through projects that they have been working on for several months. And all of them are related to the Living Systems philosophy that is basically around the living with awareness of interdependence and as a unified whole in various aspects. And you're going to hear more about all of that through these wonderful projects that we have for you today. The first one is, and because there's so much information, I want to just jump right over. The first one is going to be Stefanie Schwartz. And Stefanie is a multimedia artist and a professional photographer. And through photography, video, immersive experiences, and creativity, she invites us to wonder, to play, to expand, and to explore. Stefanie's work is intended to connect us to the nature of who we are and ultimately where we fit in within the cosmos. Stefanie has worked for more than 15 years as a motion graphics designer and photographer, videographer, art director in television, documentaries, and in commercials. Her work has been exhibited in solo and juried group shows, museums, galleries, and many more spaces. She has a BFA in photography from Syracuse University and an Emmy Award for Outstanding Achievement in Television Design. So we are so pleased to have Stefanie and to explore her work together today. Take it over, Stefanie.
Hi, thank you so much. I just really want to thank the Design Science Studio and the Living Systems Collaboratory, Mansour, and all of you for putting this together. I think it was an incredible experience to be able to be in a smaller group within a larger group, a cluster, where we were really exploring living systems. And what I learned from it was so cool because they like in this experience, it's a group of nonlinear thinkers who think differently about things. And I just think it was such a brilliant idea because Einstein said, you can't solve the problem the same way it was started. And so, I have had just an incredible time, and it's just really helped me start to put how I think together. And I know that for myself, like I have been so nonlinear in my thinking and in my world, and it's just been really great to go the other way. And so for me, that means that I've been exploring nature and I've been studying nature. I did not do well in school. Nature is my school, and that's where I learned all my lessons. And so as I look to things, I see things, and I see things that are different than what I learned and what people are learning. And, so I'm going to just talk about that here because, here I have this bubble here. This is literally the space between two bubbles. If you took this picture and you just put it here, imagine that this is the space between, and this is the colorful field between these two spheres, okay? We could take our two eyes, they come together and they create a world. And what does that world look like? Is it colorful? Is it black and white? Is it dark? It's sort of like our experience and our perception shape us. And so because I wasn't really shaped by the system that I was living in, I was shaped by things like quotes, for instance. So two quotes I have right up here is one, before I was having kids, I was thinking, and just, background, there's some of us who our history and our roots were, broken, severed, harmed, people in those systems are going to act differently based on, if you've been hanging around the Design Science Studio, you've been listening to frequency and vibration and the vibration of the water in a system that is very anxious would be, very shaky. And things can't grow very well on shaky ground. They do. So, but what we're doing here is I'm going to share with you how I went from my wonder project into deciding that it needs to be something called tuning the vessel. Because wonder is one thing. We can have the eyes of a child and wonder, but a lot of people can't get there because they have a lot of trauma and a lot of different things, and we're creating it all the time in the world. So how do we stop that cyclical cycle? And so this quote that I read before I was having kids, because I didn't sure what to do with it, it was the greatest gift you can bequest upon your children is roots and wings. And so for me, like the roots and wings is like, how can we be grounded and have freedom to explore, to be able to manifest our gifts in the world? When I was a kid, grounded was actually a scary word. That was like, I was in trouble, which just shows you how language is an issue, right? I'm going to jump around because that's the way my brain works. But just go back to language is an issue. I'm a photographer. The word shoot is all over the place in basketball, in photography. We're shooting all the time. My friend Nicole, who's part of this system with me, she's in Boulder and they just had a big shooting right there. It's like, it's in our language. It's in everything we've created. So basically, this space between two right here also creates triangles. And so when I think of the system we're in, okay, roots and wings, right? So let's go back to that for a second. Our roots and our wings is like, to me, it's both sides of our brain working together, the linear and nonlinear together. And then that gives the wings from it. And this whole new other thing and a colorful field can be created within that. So I believe that new information is what creates new neural pathways. New experiences creates new neural pathways. If you look at this, this could actually look like a brain as well, right? Our two different, our wings, roots, like it's not just this way, it's also this way. And so, one of the things that we've been talking about in Living Systems is like, how come we're still making the mistakes if we are becoming aware of ourselves? And I keep seeing that we're in a hierarchical system. If you imagine the steepest triangle you can imagine, right? Anything in that system has to go up or come down. Okay, so we believe that we come into the world, we're vibrant, and then we start to decay, and then we die. And that's the cycle, and we're missing the bridge there. Because what if it's an equilateral system? Now, I'm not saying that we don't live and die, but the system that we're living in that's hierarchical is like, everybody, the record that's playing is, you got to get to the top. Everybody else pushes you down. There's only a few at the tippy top. It's like everything within the thinking of it. We can also, like, if we're just going to die anyway, why don't we just destroy it? Like, who cares if we destroy it or not? Because, that's kind of the thinking that happens in that system. But we're all really interrelated. And so, like, as I'm saying, I'm speaking all over the place. My brain, it's sort of like, this is a great way to show right here. Like, just imagine all those dots is, memory information. Each one of us is those dots. Yesterday in a talk, I showed a field of bubbles, which were really literally a spider web in around one blade of grass. Okay, but imagine each one of those dots is each one of us, right? Or it can be brought into many different things. But this is what I learned from augmented reality, because I was part of a group of 5 artists who were helping a new tech company create the mapping software that they were working on and augmented reality. So this is how I learned about cohesion, because I did this mapping. And so here are all these dots. Basically, if I just play this for a second, you bring all those things together and it becomes solid. It becomes a tree. So basically, if we bring all these things together, right, we can cohese into something different, right? So I know I do scatter, I'm going all over the place, but my point is we can bring it all together. And to me, that's what tuning the vessel is, bringing in new information together. What I believe from what I learned in nature is 1 + 1 = 3, or 2, 3, and 4. It's not just 2, because when we make it 2, we're leaving ourselves out of the entire equation. And then most people today, they don't even know their nature. So, that's why we're tuning the vessel. So one thing is tuning the vessel. The other is, between myself and this woman, Carrie Boyett, she had this big idea. She had a near-death experience. She decided she wanted to raise the frequency of her hometown of Oneida, Tennessee, in Appalachia, which people in Appalachia didn't even know they were in Appalachia anymore. And it's so in the middle. It's that part I was saying. We keep looking east and west, but up and down is so important, if we, for so many reasons. So the things that I've known is if we're going to help a place, right, we're going to take all this information from the Design Science Studio, from Living Systems, the gathered information that is the new richness that goes into the new soil, right? So we can go into place, and I'm thinking of a distribution system, like how do we take all these parts and put it into place in a new way? And so, it's like basically the soil, right? We have a problem with the soil. It's being poisoned. The water is being poisoned. We're putting in chemicals in the water. There's fluoride in the water. Fluoride was used in Nazi Germany in order to pacify people. These ways in which we've been, like the bridge was kind of broken, seeds, like we became seeds. Now we're all over the place. And I know I'm speaking all over the place because I know I have 3 more minutes to say what I have to say. But my point is that if we, Gina Bria is talking about the water, talking about frequency, changing the frequency of the water. Even Spickett said structure of the water. Because I see vibration and sound, and Carrie, from coming back from a near-death experience, sees vibration and sound. She could share it. She happens to be a rock star in Tennessee because she was an incredible basketball player. So she's loved by, grandfathers to grandchildren. And every door we've had so far just opened. So I'm thinking this place can be a wonderful vessel, tuning the vessel, but a vessel for feedback loops, like Ilari and the group that we're doing experience rooms for mood right now on bipolar. But new experiences create new neural pathways. If we start learning different, changing our language, the soil, the water, how we walk. Mike Moulter, I'm going to just show this real quickly, but he is an Olympic biomechanic, structural. He basically was a top engineer testing the chips in Silicon Valley. Then he had a terrible accident. He had to rebuild his body. This is the way we're starting to walk, and we're moving more and more forward, okay? We're walking like quadrupedals instead of bipedals. He knows how to teach, how to get us in position with the fascia and just different things, the water, the fascia, like all these things create the new inner soil. And so, basically, I'm, as an artist and kind of like a thinker of how do I synthesize what I'm seeing in nature, and I just want to point out the girl from Spaceship Earth, because Patricia taught me more about Buckminster Fuller than I had learned yet so far, because what I do know is that bridge was broken too. In the 1982 World's Fair, it was about energy is the way. And, I feel like we're coming back into that now. And it's time to come back to that. We just started the design science decade. We're at the beginning. There's so much to do. And that's where I'm at. We definitely need different things for this project to keep moving, but we have so many things in place. And, that's what I have right now. And I'm happy to answer anything you want to ask me.
Great.
I have one more thing. So because Mansour had we've been talking about this, and I just want to point out the work of Chris Chris Burke, who this 1 + 1 = 3 thing, he's using it mathematically, and this is what he created with that kind of information, which is pretty cool because it comes really into form. And so something like this, we're working on an NFT with that at a later time. But yeah, if you wish to support, we have lots of different ways, and I could talk more about that. Okay.
Wow, Stefanie, that is fantastic. I'm not even sure I know where to begin in terms of asking you a question. So that was really amazing and wonderful. And I'm really looking forward to seeing your work develop over the next endless period. But I guess one thing I would like to, getting back to the integration with living systems,
Yep.
that when you're working, maybe you could tell us a little bit about your experience of something specific in this project where you had all of this information and you had to make some kind of decision, or you noticed a big change, or there was something about in your working process that shifted for you. And maybe it's a way of working, or a language or something. So is there anything specific you can draw our attention to in terms of this project?
I think this guy right here, Struby, the different people in the collaboratory and in in the collaboratory. Basically, I've done a lot of collaborations with the people in Living Systems, Natasha and Xraz and Struby. You know, it's like other people's, Gina. Each one of them I've actually worked with, and not Struby in real time, but you know, others in real time where we're able to collaborate together. And I feel like that accelerated things. And Struby, like being able to show me that my thinking from seeing nature about 1 + 1 = 3 and 2 and 3, and even show me where Buckminster Fuller put it in his notes. Like those things have been best feedback information from my own research, which, you know, I think that when we've been outside of the normal system as it was playing, just we came up with our own ways of navigating. And I just think that that's how I've, you know, it's like one could say, oh, you're an artist, but this is my life, my life's work. This is my way of thinking all the time. So like the fact that Struby can tell me by showing me, and Gina by showing the structure of water, and Mike by showing these things. And, you know, it's sort of like the ways that we're, you know, and you know, the way Claudia's mind works, it's the collaborative aspect that has really, you know, and I know that you're just seeing just a tiny bit of it, because I do need, you know, as I'm putting it together, like Claudia stepped in to, you know, facilitate assisting me. I have a lot of information. It's a very large picture that I'm trying to put in. And so that's a process. And so, you know, but just the different things. And like, you know, Vincent talking about in the design science studio about indigenous, like, you know, we've taken that away from ourselves. Like, can we bring back the love of the land and all these things back in, so that if we pull them all back in and we remember that we're nature, that's the most important thing, because it seems like most people think it's out there and it's here. So like the collaborations have been incredibly vital to me for giving me hope. You know, it's like when you don't feel like your work is going to be understood, or, you know, you're just in a system that doesn't, like, this is not set up for artists to survive and thrive. It's set up to push them down. And so now we've already begun creating this whole new system, Design Science Studio, the two spheres of like, you know, I have the brains here. If this is Roxy and Nico, this is all us in this new ship, the floating island. You know, if this is me and Carrie, it's the same thing, you know? And so the collaborations is what's most important. You know, and yeah, and I have collaboration with like the poetry teacher and the drama teacher and a lot of people here in Mill Valley that then I'm bringing and bridging into Oneida, Tennessee. So it's like instead of taking from the rich, like we're Robin Hood and giving to the poor, we're using trees and mycelium and networks and different ways of funneling this information. And here I'm saying, let's make a hub so we could test this stuff, get feedback loops. Ilaria and her programs, she knows how to get the feedback loops. We've been using technologies. So all the people have added so much, and in Mansour's questions of us, wanting us to explore this has just been vital to things coming together, which I know, like, it, you know, it will be much, much clearer as we go. It's coming together so much that people are going to be able to see it better than it's been able to be seen before. Are you still there? Hello?
Hey, Stefanie, this is John Crawford coming to you from backstage. Lisa is having a bit of trouble with her network connection, so I'm jumping in to ask you the next question. That was an amazing answer, and you know, one of the things that I so much love about you and your work is that you are so inclusive in terms of finding ways to connect to everyone, to all the other participants and all of their work. One of the things that we have been focusing on in the Living Systems Collaboratory is this notion of how nonlinear approaches can bring new perspectives. And you've mentioned this a bit already. I'm just wondering if you can tell us, maybe specifically in the context of your wonderful project with bubbles. I mean, can you give us an analogy of how the work with bubbles and that kind of tensegrity could be viewed in a linear way versus a nonlinear way, and how your nonlinear work is helping move all that forward? I'd love to hear more about that.
Well, it's interesting. I go to some collaboration that I have with, this is with Xavier Paradise, and he's a live interaction person. And so what I find is that, well, first of all, like I've been working with bubbles for a long time now, with a beautiful bubble smith named Sterling Johnson, who creates like huge bubbles, small, huge. And somebody put us together to play. And so we started to play, and then he asked me what I wanted to do next. And I wanted to see them at night with flashlights. And what happened with that is that they started bouncing around and glowing within it. And it reminded me of how I see energy. And I've always imagined people coming together with that. So my point with that is, like, here I've taken this one here is this same bubble. It's this same image of the soap bubble right here, multiplied and moving through space. And so to me, I feel like the showing that we are all bubbles. Everything to me is bubbles. Nonlinear thinking is bubbles. When we start to think about how to navigate through that, we can pull them together with the linear forms. And so here, this to me, it looks like life. I mean, I've photographed soap bubbles, a friend playing a didgeridoo, and the soap bubble, and it's also in Mora. Some of these things are in Mora. The soap bubble is being played by a didgeridoo, so you see the live sound in it. But when the black light is on it, you also see cells forming and just growing and forming and changing and bouncing. And so that's what. Yeah, sorry, hang on one second. So that's if I answered that correctly, that would be that.
Love it. And so, Stefanie, I really feel like your work with all of your many colleagues and collaborators, which is growing over time, really almost feels like a field of bubbles where each of you is connecting and interdependent in all these wonderful ways. You mentioned your Mora project. Can you tell us a little bit more about that, and for people who are interested in exploring it, how they can find it?
Okay, sure. The Mora that is in the Living Systems area, in that I have some spheres. Like here is a woman dancing, and the light is moving with her. And I'm just showing here light because I feel like there's ways a lot of people don't see light. I mean, unless it's bouncing off of something. So just showing light in different ways, and showing, and this with Xavier, basically he used one of my spheres, and then he created a system that he's able to like take them all and have them all work together, just like when we start working together, and create a new form. And in that case, it becomes a heart. And I just love that, because I feel like we're coming together, and everybody in the collaboratory, when we brought it together, was like so giving. Like, I'm happy to share my information. I took pictures of Tashka and Raz, and just like all the ways we're able to help each other, and then bring it together. So I love that it became a heart at the end, or in the middle of it, for if you're looking at it in Mora. So it's just like those kind of things. And in this particular one with, because I have synesthesia, which means that basically it's a neural diversity, as what I will call it right now, because there's so many of us who have neural diversities. And in this case, I see light and sound. I hear light. And so I showed it in here where you can hear the light moving with her. And I think that's important because I think there's ways in which we've been taught so many things, like hearings with our ears and seeings with our eyes, but sensing's with our bodies, and hearing is with our bodies, and feeling is with our bodies. And so like bringing the whole body in instead of the little parts is really what's important. But I take that metaphor and I use the same thing for the whole collaboratory. It's like we are creating so much more than our parts, creating amazing things that are going to change the world and already are.
Beautiful. What a beautiful metaphor, and a great capstone for your presentation, Stefanie. Unfortunately, we're out of time, but I just do want to say thank you so much for all of your work and your visionary approaches. Looking forward, as Lisa said, to seeing more of your work as everything develops. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you so much. Take care, and thank you all for this program. It was amazing. Thank you.
This project, the Living Systems Collaboratory, has been created by the Buckminster Fuller Institute's Design Science Studio in cooperation with habRitual and the Emergent Media Research Group at University of California, Irvine. We'll have many more of these Creator Spotlight presentations. Please find them where you found this one and visit the Design Science Studio Regenera launch for some more amazing art and design works.